Christie, former governor, former prosecutor, has now said that Donald Trump is basically engaged in self-inflicted indictment. Let me go to the video. Here it is.
The chances that he could be indicted are probably increasing there.
Look, I think these are all self-inflicted wounds by Donald Trump. And you know, one of the things that I always say to clients are, you know, don't out loud fight with the Department of Justice. Like, you know, we'll fight in court and do the things we need to do. He's doing the exact opposite. His lawyers aren't fighting any of this in court. They're really not. They're not putting forward any of these arguments. He's putting forward all these arguments on television. There comes a point where prosecutors are human too. And you want to keep daring them, they may just actually do it. I still don't think he's going to be charged, but I will say this much about what Dan said. The more you absolutely antagonize with nonsense arguments on television that your lawyers won't make in court because they're afraid they'll be sanctioned if they do because they have no evidence, you're pushing yourself closer to a self-inflicted indictment.
Really interesting. Self-inflicted indictment was the terminology utilized by the former governor of New Jersey and, yes, a former prosecutor. Here's the reality. I do disagree with Chris Christie. I do believe Trump will actually be indicted. Let's go to it. Chris Christie said Donald Trump's public comments about the FBI investigation into his handling of classified documents is pushing him towards a self-inflicted indictment. These are all self-inflicted wounds by Donald Trump, Christie said. Christie explained that he always advises clients don't out loud fight with the Department of Justice. Now, let me be very clear. Chris Christie is not arguing the merits of the allegation. He is not arguing that Donald Trump did not engage in a violation of the Espionage Act. He is not saying that Trump actually declassified these documents before taking them to Mar-A-Lago. He's not arguing the facts of the case. He's arguing sentiment. He's saying things like, this will be bad for the country. This will be a disaster for precedent. This is not something we should do to a former American president. Once again, you literally have a prosecutor not arguing statements or issues related to law. He's arguing sentiment and nothing more. Last week, Trump appeared on Sean Hannity's Fox News show, Fox News, safe haven for all things racist. He came there 2 nights in a row. Why? To tell people about an argument that the president can actually declassify information by doing one thing, thinking about it. That's what Trump said. He can declassify information simply by thinking about it. Now, even if Trump happened to be a thinking man, this would not be possible. This is not codified in any statute. This is not part of any protocol, and this is not backed up by any Supreme Court ruling, completely contrary to what the attorneys would ever argue. Also, in another interesting saga, there was a truth rally defending those who committed acts of terrorism on January 6th. Well, according to the reports, only dozens actually showed up. According to reports, a few dozen Trump supporters showed up for the truth rally. The rally was whose declared goal was to stand united against the political persecution of the January 6th political prisoners and against conservative political persecution in the heart of the American capital, was meant to attract the crowds with a series of far-right commentators, professors, and conspiracy theorists. Well, on the speaking circuit was Mike Lindell, the MyPillow CEO. MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell and 2 journalists at the Gateway Pundit were listed as speakers. Lindell, who was scheduled to make his intervention via a Zoom call, is currently under federal investigation himself for an alleged breach of election equipment in Colorado, which videos showing sparse crowds, reporters at the scene said there were nearly as many counter protesters as actual people in attendance. Let's show the picture. Interesting. You see the backdrop? Well, that was supposed to be a screen, an electronic screen. From the jump, everything malfunctioned. They did not have the crowd they expected. They had a roster. That roster did not garner support. Trump is losing his grip on the Republican Party, but he still has a strong grip on those who are part of his cult. To talk more about this, I have my dear brother, Rickey Smiley. Rickey, this is an interesting scenario. You literally have prosecutors not even arguing the law anymore. You have a Trump rally where basically 24 people show up, and that's it. You have as many counter protesters almost. What are your thoughts about all of this?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Dr.
Thank you.
Richey. A lot of Americans, I think, well, Republicans, I think, they're getting sick and tired of Donald Trump and all of his shenanigans. And I will say that had you and I had any kind of classified or unclassified documents sitting in our living room, we would be in jail. And there's a lot of people that's in jail right now for doing way less than what this former president has done. And 54% of the country think that Trump would be a harm to democracy. And I checked with some of my law professors. I'm not in law school, but I have friends that's attorneys that stated to me that even if Donald Trump get prosecuted and go to jail, he could still run for president of the United States, and that's pretty scary.
Yeah.
So I just hope that he gets prosecuted, because there are people in jail right now for doing similar things. I think is under the grounds of treason. But he never should have been president in the first place, and that's why it's so important to get out and vote.
That's right. Very, very well said. And yes, Trump can still run for president being indicted. He can run for president being convicted. We've had multiple people do that before. There's only one federal statute that almost applies, obviously, to this situation that would prohibit him from running. It carries a very light prison sentence, but it does say in that statute you can no longer seek or obtain public office. That may be how they prosecute him. We don't know yet. We'll bring you updates as they come.